I have covered Greg Heffley's criminal history, and I have covered Manny Heffley's, aka Bucktooth Alligator's, criminal history. And now, Susan, my attention is shifting to you. Throwing out a bouquet of flowers, living things, into the trash, and thus not caring for them. That is Susan Heffley's very first crime. But it gets a lot worse. Because as you will soon see, just one slip of the trail leads to a life of darkness and despair, and fraud and lies. Let's discuss a series of installments I like to call public humiliation. Such as putting a heart on a sandwich and hand-delivering it in class while you are the substitute teacher. Choosing to, in the most unlikely circumstances possible, to start going to the gym that just so happens to be the day that Greg forgets his backpack in the car. Coincidence? I think not. The third installment of public humiliation is when Susan yells at Greg's swim teammates to wish him a happy birthday. And if this counts, every time that Greg has a birthday, Greg's mom invites her friends' kids. She has played a direct role in the bullying that Greg Heffley is subjected to at his middle school, because Greg's mom insists that Greg only get books for his birthday, and that idea spread to other moms in the neighborhood. And seeing as how Susan Heffley loves to spread around her ideas, and use Greg's likeness without his consent, mind you, to discuss puberty, with this newspaper article being another act of public humiliation, we can pretty much assume that Greg's mom told the other mothers about this. And remember those flowers that Susan mistreated? Well, guess what? She is directly responsible for the death of a fish. Instead of seeing Roderick's fish and maybe cleaning the bowl and putting the fish somewhere else, she took a fish labeled as aggressive and puts it directly in the bowl with Greg's fish, leading to the angel fish's death. Notice that she doesn't even bring this up at all. She doesn't make one single mention of it during the dinner where Grandpa Heffley is discussing about how he hid the truth from his father. What an upstanding lady, Susan. Can we also talk about defamation and just misleading statements, saying that this was the best summer ever when in reality it was horrible? And that Greg and Riley's friendship was put on pause after this summer. Does this look like Greg is having a blast at the pool? In Diary of a Wimpy Kid Old School, Susan was able to get her electronics-free weekend passed in the town hall, which means that the town cannot use any electronics. Susan, however, violates this rule by using her phone to figure out where Greg was. Now, I could understand wanting to find where your child is after he runs away. That's a pretty reasonable thing to do to try to chase him down and, make sure that he is safe. But what is not acceptable to do, without Greg's permission, is to track him by putting a chip in his shoelace. Does she not trust her son? I mean, she literally gets a GPS chip for the pig, an animal, and a household pet, and she also gets one for Greg. Name me one parent who tracks where their child is without their consent via a computer chip, and I will call Child Protective Services. Susan Heffley is also one of the reasons why the Heffleys decided to go back to Isla de Corrales after they were banned. And the main reason, get this, was to get the family picture, because she knew the perfect spot on the beach. You know what vanity leads you to? This. This is what happens when your impulsive urge to take a family photo, something that you solely want just so you can share to everyone else in your little photo album, this is what happens. She was also kind of C-blocking my boy Roderick here, if you know what I mean. This isn't the time or place for teenage romance, Roderick. Even more public humiliation in Diary of a Wimpy Kid Big Shot. Diary of a Wimpy Kid Cabin Fever is where things are really interesting. For one, Susan Heffley takes photos of minors without their parents' permission and uses it in a vacation photo album. But even worse is that she forges Kenny Centazzo's signature. Now this is a genuine crime. If Greg was able to get this sold, he would have gotten in serious trouble. And why did Susan not want Greg to sell his comic book? She makes up the most pathetic excuse that it will eventually be worth a lot of money and he would regret selling it. Like in Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days, she doesn't come clean. You know, for someone who wanted Greg to be academically inclined when he was a little kid, such as by being a reader or being a writer, she had very little patience for Greg even getting the chance to meet his hero.